Good afternoon, everybody. David Shuster here on Take Action News. Welcome to the third hour of our show on this, the June 1st edition, 2013, first show in June. You know, folks, I'm a graduate of the University of Michigan, a very proud graduate. And for many years, a lot of people describe the University of Michigan as being the Harvard of the West. But we have new evidence this week that Harvard just doesn't even belong in Michigan's class, that Harvard has dropped so far below. And this week, the latest disgrace to Harvard came from their famed economists, Carmen Reinhart and Kenneth Rogoff. Those are the two economists who have had this very influential study that has tapped the imagination of the right wing for several years, in which they claimed that too much government debt hurts growth. And they came up with certain sort of facts and figures about the 90% debt to GDP levels that are sort of a trigger point. Well, leave it to the economists at the University of Michigan to come up with yet another study showing that the folks at Harvard have absolutely no idea what they are studying, what they are talking about. The University of Michigan economics professor Miles Kimball and University of Michigan undergraduate student Yihuan Wang write that they have crunched Reinhart and Rogoff's data and found, quote, not even a shred of evidence that high debt levels lead to slower economic growth. You see where we're going here? In fact, it is and there was another paper, and the reverse is true. It's actually slow growth that causes higher debt. So how do you avoid slow growth? Well, at the University of Michigan, where they study this stuff and they know what they're talking about, as opposed to the economists at Harvard, the way you avoid slower growth is sometimes through government stimulation. That when the government is actually putting more money into the economy and running up perhaps short-term higher debt, that at least keeps the economy humming, keeps it growing, which in the long run causes less debt. Are you following this? All you have to know is that Harvard got it wrong, Michigan got it right. The Republicans who have been relying on this Harvard study to argue, oh my goodness, we have to tighten our belts. We must have austerity like in Europe because otherwise we're going to have horrible growth. No, it is the austerity itself that is putting the damper on the economy. You just have to look at Greece, look at Europe, and the evidence is there. The evidence is there that Europe did precisely the wrong thing by tightening their belts as opposed to having the government stimulate more spending. They made a fragile economic situation much worse. And there are so many Republicans here in the United States who simply want to keep doing the same thing, despite the overwhelming evidence from overseas and the rigorous academic research that shows that the beloved study from Rogoff and Reinhart has just been completely undermined. That Harvard study was wrong. There's not even a shred of evidence to support it, according to the University of Michigan. And so, yes, University of Michigan, an esteemed academic institution, is in its own class, and Harvard has dropped several more notches.